Unbelievable, Charles. And this is just in the early morning before the first witness even takes the stand. How would you describe this morning?
This is not the start that you want if you're Donald Trump or his defense attorneys. And quite frankly, Jose, I've been talking to a number of us on the panel, and I'm surprised that Todd Blanche, being as accomplished an attorney as he is, did not have a better explanation and response for some of the questions that Judge Marchand has thrown at him. These are not necessarily complicated things. And while I understand that you are primarily focused on Donald Trump and his defense at trial, you've had several days to put together a plausible argument as to why you should be able to win this hearing against the prosecution and their motion. And the examples for, in the instance of he was responding to Stormy Daniels, you could have easily put together a few tweets if, in fact, this was the answer that you plan to give. And so, quite frankly, I'm surprised. This is not a good thing. And the fact that the judge has said you're losing credibility as a defense attorney, as a trial attorney, this early in a trial is not somewhere you want to be.
I mean, what do you say if you are Trump's attorney and the judge is asking you for specifics about a gag order that was very clearly written and specified?
You have to have the answers. I mean, there really is no excuse for walking into court unprepared. One thing I never heard in all my years as a prosecutor from any judge, many of whom disagreed with me or denied my motions, was that I was losing credibility with the court. And that is a dagger for anybody in a court of law. And if you lose your credibility, Jose, it's very, very hard to get it back. And by the way, you may need it at the end. And so, I don't envy Mr. Blanche for a number of reasons. He should, not just he, anybody walking into court should be prepared. I don't think it was that difficult to anticipate what the questions might be. There weren't that many tweets at issue. They were all, posted in some way. As Mr. Trump's lawyer, it's your obligation to know that and to be able to explain it. You might lose, but you don't want to lose and lose your credibility.
I'm just wondering, just the four of you that have vast experience, do you recall a time or more than once where a judge early on in a case said to one of the litigants, either the defense or the prosecution, you are losing credibility with this court early on? Do any of you remember that happening?
I've seen judges admonish attorneys. I've seen the body language and all of the indicia of that being the sentiment, but never have I heard it expressly said, you're losing credibility. I've heard this is not a plausible argument. I'm suspect. These
but that's different than stating. That's different than a judge stating, when everybody is under, they're under the judicial proceedings underway, to say you are losing credibility. What do you see there?
Oh, man, that is definitely reputationally damaging. I have never seen it happen to a colleague or an opposing counsel or myself, and I'm thankful that I haven't. But it can be really detrimental to one's reputation. But the thing about it, too, I think not only the comment, but to say it in front of one's client is equally as damaging. And obviously the client in this case is Trump. But my goodness, can you imagine how much, even though Todd Blanche is a well-respected attorney, having your client hear you be admonished in that way by the court has got to diminish your ability to think, oh my goodness, I've selected the right attorney. And that's
what does Blanche and the rest of the team do now, and what are they thinking on how they overcome this very clear obstacle? I mean, from the bench, the judge says you are losing credibility.
If I were them, I would probably be trying to pull together some sort of letter to the judge, something else to basically say, look, Your Honor, based on the things that you said in court, here are some other things that we've brought to bear to try to kind of repair the damage. It's damage control time, because what happens when you're losing, it's reputation overall, fine. Todd Blanche has kind of made his bet that he's riding on the Trump train now, and that's his decision. Reputationally, that opens up a whole lot of things that aren't worth talking about right now. What does it mean in the context of this case? Every time he stands up to object, he's now got less credibility. Every time that there's anything that comes up with a piece of evidence, he's going to have less credibility. If this gets to a conviction and then we're in a sentencing phase, he's going to have less credibility. And none of those things are good. All of those things are bad. And so he's got to get into damage control quick.
So, Kristen, the judge is saying that he's going to reserve a decision on gag order violations and what to do about it. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to be tough because if he doesn't make a decision right away, it really runs the risk of Trump continuing to engage in potentially violative behavior. But again, judges are regular people. He now has heard the arguments. Judge is basically saying, let me digest the arguments, let me take some time, speak to my law clerk, look at the law again, and really determine whether or not Trump violated the order. So what it really does tell me is that this judge is being conscientious, despite the fact that he has publicly stated to the opposing counsel, to Trump's counsel, hey, you're losing credibility. He is still taking a conscientious view and going to make a conscientious decision.
So even while Merchan was saying that Trump's main attorney has been losing credibility, just seconds after that, essentially, when there was this break that is now they're resuming, but they haven't as of right now, started the testimony of David Pecker. But during that time, here's what was coming out of Truth Social and former President Trump. So let's look at that together, and I'm just going to highly conflicted. To put it mildly, Judge Juan Merchan has taken away my constitutional right to free speech. Everybody is allowed to talk, and I can't read the rest of it there, but you could lie about me, but I'm not allowed to defend myself. This is a kangaroo court, and the judge should recuse himself. That's kind of an interesting tactic.
Well, it is. I mean, the gag order by itself permits Mr. Trump to criticize the judge. So that is probably not violative. But, I'm a big baseball fan, Jose. I think it would be a bad strategy as you're walking to the mound at the top of the first inning to stop by home plate and tell the umpire he sucks. Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And there are 9 innings to play. And so attacking the judge, even if it's within the confines of the order, right, doesn't really help you at trial. I think that was Tristan's point. They should be in damage control. You got to try and right the ship. Maybe you apologize. Maybe you find some other way.
Apologize about what, though?
I wasn't clear, Your Honor, and I do think there's an argument to be made for Mr. Trump. He is running for president, and that puts him in a different category than any other criminal defendant. I agree with you that some of these tweets and reposts are troubling, but I don't think they're violative because my client didn't intend to violate your order. You try and pull it back, but you don't start screaming at the umpire before you've thrown a pitch.
And then when the umpire makes an aside, and then you scream again and you insult again. I mean, is there some logic to this?
So before the trial begins, yes. This is a strategy that we've seen Donald Trump employ in all of his criminal cases, and I like to call it, to further your sports analogy, because I've been using the same one, putting pressure on the refs. Donald Trump is aware that there is no judge who really wants to be responsible for actually penalizing him to the point of putting him in jail. He also knows that it's a logistical nightmare for any law enforcement agencies to go through the machinations of what will take to actually hold him in jail for contempt. He's aware of this. Not just that, but if a judge decides to do that, he has now created an appealable issue, at least in his mind, or one that he's going to contest. So that's something that before trial, I understand somewhat the logic. Do I like it? Do I agree with it as a strategy? No, but I get what he's trying to do, because on one hand, if he does get penalized, now he becomes more of a martyr as Donald Trump the candidate, and if he doesn't, he becomes more of a rebel as Donald Trump the defendant.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.